What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Fast Break Tundra Baller. We are here with another episode. This is episode 10 of season 2 of Fast Break Tundra Baller. You're listening live at 11 a.m. on April 18th, if you are. And yeah, it's going to be another episode. And today it's going to be something different. We're going to be doing the usual stuff. We are getting into the end of regular season stuff, and now we are getting into postseason basketball. We're going to be talking about the playing games, and then the end of season stuff, and like what the lottery is looking like, the standings, the playoff matchups as of right now, and then we are going to be talking about the playing games. And if you have been listening to Fast Break Tundra Baller for a while, you know me. My name is Mario Duenas. I am a sophomore right now at Cal State Fullerton, and I am a huge fan of the Clippers. I have been going to mostly every single game. I'm in this section called the Swell, which is the heartbeat of a wall. It is just an amazing thing. Great people. And it's the people that do those free throw distractions. If you ever seen games at Intuit Dome, those people that do free throw distractions in the wall, those crazy free throw distractions instead of just booing, that is me. I am part of those people. So it's been really fun. And unfortunately, if you are, well, you probably know this by now, it has come to an end. This season has come to an end. So we're going to be talking about pretty much a season recap and my thoughts and pretty much what's going to be next for me, because I make content on TikTok mostly. So make sure you guys follow there. It is Tundra _baller _0. I post mostly every day there. The goal is to post every day, and I've been pretty consistent with that. So make sure you guys tune into my TikTok, and make sure you follow my Instagram too. The same username, Tundra _baller _0. I just post some stuff there, but I mainly post a lot of my work on TikTok besides here on Fast Break Tundra Baller. So today we're gonna be starting off with the NBA standings right now. So for the end of season standings, so we'll start off with the West. So we have on top the Oklahoma City Thunder. They finished with the best record in the league at 64-18. And they lost their last 2 games of a regular season, but they didn't need to anyways. They kept the best record in the league. And then we have the San Antonio Spurs, the second best record in the league, with 62-20. And then we have the Denver Nuggets finishing off with a 12-game winning streak to end the regular season. And they finished with a record of 54-28 and finishing with a 3rd seed. And the 4th seed, it's 1 game behind the Los Angeles Lakers, 53-29. They ended the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. Then we have the Houston Rockets behind 1 game, again behind the Lakers, with a 52-30 record. Then we have a 6th seed, the Minnesota Timberwolves, at 49-33. So those teams, they pretty much have a week off before the actual playoff starts. And then we have the next 4 teams that are going to be participating in the play-in tournament. So in the 7th seed, we have the Phoenix Suns with a record of 45-37. Then for the 8th and 9th seeds, it was a tie between the Portland Trailblazers and the LA Clippers. So they both finished with a record of 42-40. But Portland, they take the 8th spot, and the Clippers the 9th spot. The Blazers, they win the tiebreaker between both of them because although it was tied between both of them in head-to-head record of 2-2 apiece, they had a better conference record, the Trailblazers. So the Blazers, they had a better record in conference, 29-23, and the Clippers had a 25-27 conference record. So that's how it goes. So it goes from head to head, then conference record, than division record. So, and then the last team, the Golden State Warriors, at number 10 at 37-45. So they were 5 games behind both the Clippers and the Blazers. And then eliminated from the postseason, we have the New Orleans Pelicans and the Dallas Mavericks tied at 11 at 11 and 12. Well, at the 11th seed, but the Pelicans, they have a tiebreaker. They both finished with a record of 26-56. And then one game behind them at the 13th seed is the Memphis Grizzlies with a record of 25-57. And then in the last 2 spots, they're both tied for 14th and 15th seed. The Kings at 14 and the Jazz at the 15th seed, with both teams with a record of 22-60. And also, one thing to note too, the Memphis Grizzlies, they ended the season losing 8 straight games. And now let's go on to the Eastern Conference. We have the Detroit Pistons that finished with the 3rd best record in the league and clinched the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference with a record of 60-22. And they finished the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. Then number 2, we had the Boston Celtics with a record of 56-26. They started off a little bit slow, but then they started getting momentum, and then they eventually got Jason Tatum back, and Jaylen Brown has been having a really good season. Number 3, we have the New York Knicks with a record of 53-29. Then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, 1 game behind the Knicks at 52-30. And then 6 games behind the Cavaliers, we have the 5th seed Toronto Raptors and the 6th seed Atlanta Hawks, with both of them with a record of 46-36. The Toronto Raptors, they own the tiebreaker though. So those 6 teams, they had a week off because the next 4 teams, they're playing in the play-in. So we have, for the 7th and 8th spot, so it's 1 game behind the Raptors and Hawks. At 45-37, we have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Orlando Magic. And the 76ers, they have a 7th spot, the Magic the 8th spot. Because the Sixers, they have a tiebreaker. And then the 9th seed, 1 game behind the 76ers and Magic, is the 9th seed Charlotte Hornets with a record of 44-38. And then 1 game behind them at the 10th spot, it's 43-39 for Miami Heat. And then there's just a huge gap, 11 games behind the 10th seed. So these teams are now eliminated from playoff contention or postseason contention. And then 11 games behind the Miami Heat, like I said, is the Milwaukee Bucks with a record of 32-50. It's just a really disappointing season for them. You know, Giannis, he's been out for a long time, for a lot of the season. And we talked about Giannis and his relationship with the Milwaukee Bucks last week. You know, it's just a lot of crazy stuff, saying, the Bucks saying he doesn't want to play, and Giannis saying, oh, I want to play. So which story is true, pretty much? Or is there anything more behind that? So 1 game behind the Bucks, we have the 12th seed at a record of 31-51, the Chicago Bulls. They were the 1 seed at one point, during the season, but then they really fell off. And then 11 games behind the 12th seed Chicago Bulls, we have, with a 20-62 finish, the Brooklyn Nets. So they tie the 14th and 5th seed in the East, the Kings and Utah Jazz. So if they were in the Western Conference, they would be last right now, or 13, 14, or 15. There would be a 3-way tie of a worst record in the East. But 20-62 is not the worst record in the league. There are 2 teams that have less wins than that, have a worse record than that. So, at number 14 in the East, and the second worst record in the league, it is the Indiana Pacers. They played in the finals last year, And, Tyrese Halliburton, he tore his Achilles, and Miles Turner left. And then, they just really fell out this year. I can't blame them. Injuries, a lot of injuries this year, a lot more than Tyrese Halliburton. But they had a record of 1963, the worst record in the league. And we're going to be talking about their lottery pick later on in this episode. So stay tuned for that because this is important for the Clippers. And then at the number 15 spot and the worst record in the league, finishing the season with 10 straight losses, it is the Washington Wizards with a record of 17-65. So they have the biggest lottery odds in the NBA, or one of the three teams with the biggest lottery odds. Before we start off the play-in tournament, we're going to be talking about the last two regular season games for the Clippers. There are just some very important stuff that we have to talk about. I cover the Clippers here on Fast Break Tundra Baller. So, I have been pretty much covering a lot of the season. Pretty much the whole season. Even last semester I was talking about the Clippers game recaps. Pretty much the only games that I didn't talk about was when I was on Christmas break. So about a month of basketball or something like that. But besides that, I pretty much covered everything. And yeah, pretty much everything that happened in the Clipper games and the big Clipper news and the trade deadline. So we're going to be talking about this game right here. So it was Friday last week. So it was Friday on April 10th. So this was a really big game. The Clippers and the Blazers. So whoever won this game, like I said earlier, the Clippers and the Blazers, they were tied for the 8th and 9th seeds. And this game, it really determined who pretty much wins the tiebreaker. Because coming into this game, the Clippers were 2-1 in head-to-head record against the Blazers. And if they won, then they would obviously win the tiebreaker 3-1, since that was the series, 3-1 with a win. But if the Clippers lost to the Blazers would have a tiebreaker, although it would be tied 2-2. Because the Blazers, they have a better conference record. So, let's talk about this because this is a very important game. Because if the Clippers win this game, then they would have clinched the 8th seed. And the last game, 2 days later on Sunday, it wouldn't have mattered. But if the Clippers lost, then they would still have a chance for the 8th seed, but it would be very unlikely because the Clippers, they would play the Warriors. It's a winnable game. But the next game on Sunday, the Blazers, they're playing as the Kings, and they're one of the worst teams in the league right now, so it's very unlikely. So, which it didn't happen, just FYI. And yeah, let's talk about this game. So, the game, it started off really, really bad. So, a 2-9 lead for the Blazers very early on in less than 2 minutes. So, Danny Avdija, he hit 2 free throws. Jrue Holiday hit 2 free throws. Just a lot of foul calls. Then Donovan Clingan hit 3, and then Avdija he got a layup. So he scored 4 points, and then Clingan 3, Jrue Holiday 2. The only basket in that run, in that 2-9 run by the Blazers was by Brook Lopez with a floater, and then Brook hit 3 a minute later to make it 5-9, and then that brought the Clippers to go on a run. They brought the lead, so it went from 9-2, a Blazers lead, to a Clippers lead, 12-9. So it was a 10-0 run. So Brook Lopez, he hit 3, then Kawhi hit 2 with a layup, and then Darius Garland hit 3, and then Kawhi Leonard got a layup. So 10-0 run from there. Kawhi had 5, Darius Garland 3, and then Brook, he already had 5 points already. He scored the first 5 points for the Clippers. And then it started to get close, they had as big of a lead as 4. The Clippers. They were up 19-15 with 5:46 left in the quarter. In the next 2 minutes, it went from a Clippers 4-point lead to a Portland 5-point lead. They scored 9 straight points, and so this is how it went. So Avdia made a layup. Then Donovan Clingan, he made a hook shot, and that was an and one. So he made one more free throw, and then he got a dunk the next play, and then Avdia, he got a layup, so 9 points right there. So it was all Avdia and Clingan. 5 points from Clingan, and then 2 from Avdia. And then, yeah, at the end of the quarter, the Clippers were up by 9 points. It was terrible. So the Clippers, they brought the lead down to 1, though, 24-23, and then tied the game at 24 because Jordan Miller, he got an and one with a layup with 3:34 to go. But the Clippers, they were scoreless. So Jordan Miller, when he got the and one, that was with 3 minutes, 34 seconds left in the first quarter. And that was it. That was it for scoring for the Clippers. So, yeah. And then they were scoreless for the last 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Then the Blazers, they went on a 9-0 run during that. So, Tamari Kamara, he made a 3. Then Murray, he had a layup. And then Matisse Thybulle, he had 1 or 2 free throws. Then a Williams a third. Then free throws from Robert Williams, so it was really, really bad. You know, they were down by 9 at the end of the quarter, 33-24. And then they brought the lead to 10. So Kobe Sanders, he started off the quarter with a dunk, brought it down to 7, and then Shannon Sharp, he hit a 3. They even brought the lead up to 19 with 8:37 left. Robert Williams III, he hit a 3, and he barely made threes during the season. At that point, in his first 3 of the game, so he made back-to-back threes, or 2 threes in 2 minutes. And those were his 8th and 9th three-pointers of the season. So that was crazy. Like, it was really, really bad. Like, it really just feels like that the Clippers, that they allow a lot of threes during the season. So, like, it is really bad, you know. They allow, threes from most random people. Like Robert Williams, 8th and 9th three-pointers in game 81 of the season. And you allow him to hit 2. Like, that is crazy. So Robert Williams, 6-0 run on his own. It brought the lead from 13-19 in 1 minute. So, and then the Clippers, they decided to not go away with this. They went on a little run, and they even with less than 5 minutes left, the lead was now 20. Donovan Clingan, we allowed him to hit a 3. And then Jordan Miller, he hit a 3. And then less than a minute later again, Donovan Clingan hit a 3. But then we came back a little bit. The Clippers, 2 minutes later, brought the lead down to 15. And then a minute later, brought the lead down to 13. And then it became a 12-point lead with 44 seconds left. Kawhi made a 3. And then with 17 seconds left, we got a hook shot from Chris Dunn to make it a 10-point lead. So from 20 to 10, bringing the lead down to half at halftime. There was a great run for the Clippers at the end of the first half. So, yeah, it was a 10-point game, 61-51. Great way to end that first half for the Clippers. That was really good. I was really proud of them. So, here are some stats for our first half. Kawhi was the leading scorer for the Clippers with 14. And Denny Avdia, he was the leading scorer for the whole game. It was 18 points for Denny Avdia. Then Donovan Clingan had 16 points with 3 3-pointers. Like, are you kidding me? Like, he only shoots when he's wide open. And we're good at leaving shooters wide open. So, That so that's just unfortunate. But they made 8 threes, 8 for 21, and the Clippers they made 7 threes, 7 for 23, 30%. The Clippers shot 43% in the first half, and the Blazers shot 46%. To start off the second half, the Clippers started on a 7-0 run. Kawhi Leonard, he had a pull-up jumper, midi. Derek Jones Jr., a three-pointer in the first play. And then Darius Garland, 2 free throws. So that was 7 points right there. So to bring the lead down to 3. But Scoot Henderson, he scored 5 straight points to bring the lead to 8. And then Kawhi, he brought the lead down to 6, then 4 with a Brook Lopez fadeaway. So that was really good. And then they brought the lead down to 1. Derek Jones Jr., he drew a flagrant foul. So it was a foul by Drew Holiday. Derek Jones Jr., he was trying to go for a dunk. And then Drew Holiday, he did not play. It was not a basketball foul. Or, yeah, it was not a basketball play, like trying to block the ball. Like, he literally grabbed Derek Jones Jr. in midair, which could have caused injury, but the refs, you gotta protect the players. So, yeah. So, credit to the refs there, and they gave Drew Holiday a flagrant penalty, 1. And then Derek Jones Jr., he made both free throws to bring the lead down to 1. So, that was really good. And there were multiple times where they brought the lead down to 1. And this was midway through the third quarter. This was with 7 minutes left. And then they started trading baskets for a little bit. So they brought the lead from 3 to 1. And then, yeah, it was... And then they tied the game with 4:13 left. Derek Jones Jr. made a 3. And then Shannon Sharp, he got a floater to bring the lead at 2. And then Kawhi Leonard, he tied the game with his own jumper shot. And then Jordan Miller, the next play, he got a 3-pointer, and that was our first lead of the game. So I was really excited. But then the Clippers, they lost the lead, and they were down by 2 at the end of the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter came along. It was only good for a little bit. So they were down by 2 at the end of the third quarter, right? So, in the first play for the Clippers in the fourth quarter, Jordan Miller, he tied the game with a layup. And then the next play, Kobe Sanders, he took the lead again for the Clippers to bring him up to a Kobe Sanders fadeaway jumper from 13 feet. And then the Clippers, they never saw the lead again. With 7:41 left of the game, they were down by 7 with a Denny Avdia and 1. And then they brought the lead to double digits with 3:39 left in the game. Man, and then technical foul from Brook Lopez. Like, oh man, it was really, really bad, that ending. It's like we couldn't hit a shot and we couldn't stop the Blazers. Like, especially like Denny Avdia, Like, it was really, really bad. This was a really bad loss. We could have gotten the 8th seed here. Like, I was really upset. There was a Clippers watch party at this game. So the Clippers, they were on the road. They were at Portland. And they invited fans to watch the game at Intuit Dome in the Halo board. So it was really bad. And the Clippers, they got outscored 30-13 in that quarter. The Clippers had a lot of momentum in the second half of the second quarter and the third quarter. And they just couldn't hold it together. They only had 13 points in the third quarter. Like, are you serious? 13 points? So they shot 25%, 5 for 20, 1 for 9 from 3. So only 4 Clippers scored. Kawhi Leonard with 4 points. Brook Lopez with 3. He was the one that made the 1 3 out of 9 attempts. And then Jordan Miller with 2. Kobe Sanders with 2. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 people. No Chad Omer and garbage time. Got it 2. But to make things even worse, so the Clippers scored 13 points, right, in the fourth quarter. And I was talking about how Denny Avdia was dominating in the fourth quarter. He outscored the Clippers in that quarter. He had 15 points. Two more points than the entire Clippers team in the fourth quarter. So, and he had half of the 15 of the 30 points. So this was a really bad game. And then the Clippers lost by 19 points. 116 to 97. So, here are some final stats for you guys for this game. Kawhi Leonard, he led the Clippers with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists on 10 for 20 shooting. Brook Lopez, he had 5 threes. He played 36 minutes on so heavy minutes for the old guy. And he had 21 points, 5 for 11 from 3. Darius Garland, 16 points. Then Jordan Miller, 15 points. Denny Avdia, the leading scorer of the game and the player of the game, with 35 points on 11 for 19 shooting. It looked like this guy couldn't miss. And he shot 13 three-pointer or free throws. 13 free throws, and he made 12 of them. Then you have Donovan Clingan with 18 points. Robert Williams a third. 2 for 2 from 3, although that was his 8th and 9th made 3 of the season in game 81 with 13 points. So that was a really terrible game. So now we're going to be going on to the last regular season game. So it was the Clippers against the Warriors. So this is the last regular season home game. So the Clippers, they're playing against the Warriors. So this game, it didn't mean anything for the Warriors. But the Clippers, they could have gotten the 8th spot. They were currently at the 9th seed at the time. And they still have a chance, but they need to win this game for a chance for a 8th spot. So they will only get the 8th spot with a Clippers win and a Portland Trailblazers loss. And yeah, the Kings won. So the Clippers stay in the 9th spot, win or lose. So yeah, they start off the game. They were down 10-4, but then they tied the game, and then they took the lead again. So it went from a 10-4 lead, and then 10-10, and then the Clippers they just started off a little bit bad, and they started going down 17-10. So and then 19-12, Steph Curry he was hitting some of his shots, but at the end of the first quarter they were down by 26-25, and it was at the buzzer. It was a 4-point play, so that was crazy. A 4-point play. So Steph Curry he made a 3-pointer, but he was not the one that got fouled. They called a loose ball foul on Ben Matherin, and he fouled Charles Bassey during the shot, pretty much. So the 3-pointer was good, and Charles Bassey he made the one free throw. So the three tied the game, and that free throw it took the lead for the Warriors. So the Clippers they had the lead for a little bit, and then for the first play of the game, Nico Batum he hit a three, and then the next play Ben Matherin he hit a three. So this was a really good game for Ben Matherin, and then he got another tip in the next shot. Then the Clippers they started to get a lead a little bit with 7:43 left. They had a 4-point lead, 37 to 33. And then Ben Matherin he had another three to bring the lead to 7. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic he got some real minutes for the first time in a long time. In one of his first plays in the game, he made a 3-pointer to bring the lead to 10. So boom, Bogey, I would see him at warm-ups all the time, and he would be making threes, lights out from the logo. I would say he would make at least like 60% of them from very deep or around logo range, around that. And then at halftime, the Clippers were up for 52-48, and at the buzzer, they gave up another three, or right before the buzzer with 2 seconds left. Brian Pajemski, people are saying that Pod sucks, and People are just trolling him on Twitter. There was even this Twitter account that said not tweeting until Brian Pajemski scored 30. And he finally scored 30 recently, and that account hasn't tweeted in a very long time. And then he acknowledged it at the press conference of that game when he scored 30 points. He said that account could be activated now. So yeah, it was a 4 point lead at halftime. So the Clippers gave up 6 points in the second half on last second shots. But then the Clippers, they kept their lead for a while, but the Warriors, they brought the lead down to one when Brandon Projetsky made two free throws 3 minutes into the second half. But the Clippers, they kept holding on to their lead. But Guy Santos, with 4:51 left, he made a layup to tie the game at 7 with 67-67, 6-7. So, but Seth Curry, he took the lead with 2:07 left with a 3-pointer. And then before that, Charles Bassey, he tied the game. So that was really bad. But the Clippers, they kept their lead again. Jordan Miller, he got a layup in the last second of the third quarter to bring the lead to 2, 83-81. So for the most part, the Clippers, they kept their lead. But they had Curry not playing that much. Draymond Green, he didn't play that much. And then so they brought it to a 5 point lead 1 minute into the fourth quarter. Kobe Sanders, he got two free throws, and Charles Bassey, he traded it with a layup, and then Nico Batum, he hit a three. So fourth quarter, Wab Batum, that's that meme, terrible meme. But Bogdan Bogdanovic, he hit back to back threes, brought the lead to 11. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic, a few minutes later, he hit a three from the logo 34 feet away. Just a really good game for Bogey when he hasn't had that much of an opportunity on the floor since around the first half of the season. When we were doing bad, during our 6-21 days. But the Clippers, they had a 12-point lead with 7:06 left in the game. But yeah, then it became garbage time. It didn't really mean anything. But at the end, the Clippers won 115-110. Overall a good game for the Clippers. I can't be mad. It's just a practice for the next game because they're going to play the Warriors again for the play-in tournament for the 9-10 game. Winner moves on to play the loser of Portland and Phoenix. Long story short, Portland won, and we're going to be talking about that for a little bit. But for the stats, a little bit. So, D'Anthony Melton, he had 4 points, and then you had Stephen Curry with 24 points in limited minutes. He played 28 minutes, so 24 points in 28 minutes. And then Kristaps Porzingis, 12 points. And then you had Charles Bassey with 16 points in 18 minutes. And then we had John Collins, 18 points. Ben Mathurin, 20. He had 2 threes. And Kobe Sanders with 11. Jordan Miller, 14. And Bogdan Bogdanovic, that's my player of the game. 5 threes made. And he finished with 17. So this was a really good game for the Clippers. So we're going to be talking about the play-in tournament a little bit. So I'm recording this right now at 3:10 p.m. on Thursday, April 16th. So right now, if you're listening to this right now on Saturday, April 18th at 11 a.m., then the Friday games already happened. But I am recording this before the Friday games happen. So I will talk about that next week, possibly. Or I will talk about everything that's happened in the playoffs so far, since the playoffs happened the day that you're listening to this live. If you are, the playoffs start on April 18th. So I might talk about it, or I will talk about whatever happens in the playoffs. So, but the play-in game so far, it's been really crazy. So we're going to be talking about the Hornets and Heat game a little bit, the endings of the game. So with 4 minutes left in regulation in the fourth quarter, it was a tie game, 102-102 between the Hornets and the Heat. And then a minute later, it was a 6-point lead. Andrew Wiggins, he made a three to make it a 6-point lead for the Heat. And then Brandon Miller, he brought the lead down to half of a three of his own with 2:41 left. Then Tyler Hero traded to make it a 6-point lead with 2:16 to go. And then with 19 seconds left, Jordan Miller, he made a three to bring the lead down to one with 19 seconds left. Then Tyler Hero, he made two free throws with 13 seconds left. Then Derek White, he made a fadeaway jumper in the corner, and it was green in the corner, and it was a crazy shot that he made it, and that forced overtime for the game. And then it was crazy again. The Hornets, they had a 5-point lead with 1:33 left. But the Heat, they were not going away. They tied the game with 9 seconds left. And then Tyler Hero, he made one more free throw. So, with 9 seconds left, LaMelo Ball fouled Tyler Hero on a three-pointer with 9 seconds left. They had no challenges, so they couldn't challenge it. And Tyler Hero, he made all three free throws to bring the lead to one. Then LaMelo, he went coast to coast. They didn't call a timeout. LaMelo went to full coast to coast in 4 seconds and made a quick layup. And then Davion Mitchell, he tried to do the same thing, coast to coast, just like LaMelo in the last play. But it got blocked by Miles Bridges, and the game was over. So the Hornets, they eliminate the Miami Heat. They advance to the next game, which is yesterday's game, if you're listening live, against the Orlando Magic. So let's talk about some stats for this game. So it was pretty crazy, LaMelo Ball, he led the game with 30 points. And he was 2 for 16 from 3. So that was kind of crazy. He shot a lot of threes. Overall, 12 for 31. And the rookie sensation, the rookie 3-point shooter who has set a rookie record of most made threes in a season, Colin Knappel, he went 0 for 6 from 3 in this game. He had 6 points in 2 for 12 shooting. But Miles Bridges, he made 5 of his 10 threes, so half of them, and 10 for 18 from the field, and he had 28 points. And Kobe White, he also had 5 threes in 8 shots. He had 19 points. For the Heat, Andrew Wiggins was the leading scorer, 27 points. Norman Powell had 11 off the bench. Davion Mitchell, he was the leading scorer, Davion Mitchell. He had 28 points. Tyler Hero with 23 points. And in the other game that day, it was really crazy. So it was the Suns against the Blazers. And it was a pretty back and forth game, but Denny Avdia, he really took over in the fourth quarter. With 3:31 left in the game, and that was when Jalen Green hit a three. So they were up by 8, the Suns, with 3:31 left in the game. And the Blazers, they decided to not go away. They did not give up. They scored 7 straight points. So Shannon Sharp, he hit 2 free throws. Jeremy Grant, he hit a 3. And Denny Avdia, he made 2 free throws. So they brought the lead down to 1. And then Devin Booker, he went to the line, and then he went 1 for 2. He made 1, he missed 1, with 2:12 left. So that brought the lead to 2 with that 1 made free throw. Then Jeremy Grant, he hit he had 3 to take the lead. And then Devin Booker, the next play, he took the lead with 2 free throws, so they were back up 1 with a minute 34 left. Then Denny Avdia, he got a layup to bring the lead back, and then traded. Then the Suns, they got the lead back once again with a layup. And then Denny Avdia, he got an and one, brought the lead to 2 with 16 seconds left. And that was the end of the game. And then Jeremy Grant with a no sportsmanship dunk at the end. And they got the steal at the last play. Jeremy Grant got the steal and then he dunked it. No sportsmanship at the end of the game. 114 to 110 was the final score, and the 8th seed Blazers give a 7th seed to play against the San Antonio Spurs in the first round. So here is some stats for this game. So Denny Avdia, he had 41 points. Pretty insane. 15 for 22 from the field, 8 for 13 from field goal or free throws. And he had 12 assists also and 7 rebounds. Then you had Donovan Clingan. He had 2 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. Drew Holiday, 21 points. Jeremy Grant, 16. Shannon Sharp, 12. Then for the Suns, they have one more chance. They're going to play against the winner of the game that we're going to be talking about next. Jalen Green, he had 35 points in 14 for 29 shooting. Dylan Brooks with 20. And Devin Booker, he had 22. He missed 5 free throws. Same thing for Denny Avdia. Both of them went 8 for 13 from the line, which is not that common for them to miss 5 free throws out of that many shots. The game started a lot of energy for the Clippers. They were up 2 to 10 or 10 to 2 during the game, and then 12 to 2. So they had a 10-point lead in the first 3.5 minutes of the game. Darius Garland, he hit a midi, and Kawhi with a layup. 2 more free throws from Kawhi. Then Darius Garland with a pull-up and a layup. And then Brook Lopez with a putback. So after Guy Santos scored the first basket with a layup, then the Clippers went on a 12 to nothing run. And then the Warriors, they started to come back a little bit. They tied the game with 5:52 left in the first quarter when Guy Santos made a layup, 14 to 14. So it was a 12 to 2 run for the Clippers. So a 12-0 run and then a 12 to 2 run for the Warriors, and a 12-0 run for the Clippers before that, and then 12 to 2 run for the Warriors. And then they took the lead with 4:11 left in the first quarter with a Al Horford dunk. And then they took the lead again. Kawhi Leonard, he hit a midi from 20 feet, and then Kobe Sanders, he hit a 3. And the next play, Jordan Miller, he had 3 also. So that brought the lead to 7 with 2 minutes left. And at the end of the first quarter, the Clippers were up by 9, 31 to 22. So, fun fact also. So, at the first timeout of the second quarter, you might have saw this. I'm not sure, but apparently this was on TV. And this was on Amazon, the game. So, I don't know exactly if these people are watching on Amazon, but I was on TV shooting threes on the Clippers court. And I was able to get access to shoot threes in 3-point contests. I shot really, really bad, but usually I am not a terrible basketball player. Like I still got it. Like I still work out every day, playing basketball, shooting a lot, getting a lot of shots up. But yeah, it was really bad. Like the NBA Bulls, it was really slippery. I'm not trying to give an excuse here, but yeah, it was tied 3-3, but I won. And I was able to get a team size ball, and it is amazing in my room. Like it looks amazing. Like the entire it's a signed basketball from the entire Clippers team. Everybody in the roster. So I still have to look at the signatures, but Kawhi Leonard's signatures there. Pretty much everybody on the Clippers roster right now that you can think of right now, like Kobe Sanders, Kawhi, Ben, Darius, anybody. Isaiah Jackson, all those guys. But in the second quarter, though, let's talk about the game now. They started the second quarter on a 13-0 run for Warriors. So they were down by 9 at the start of the quarter, and they brought the lead to 4. So from start to finish of that run, D'Anthony Melton a layup, Brandon Pajemski a layup, Guy Santos with a layup, Gary Payne II with another layup, Kristaps Porzingis, aka Tingus Pingus, with a 3, then D'Anthony Melton another layup, which was a dunk. And then Chris Dunn, he finished the run, or he ended the unanswered points with a 3. And then Darius Garland, he hit a 3. So back-to-back threes for the Clippers to bring back the lead. And then, yeah. And then the Clippers, they kept their lead. They kept their lead for a lot of the time. And then, but at halftime, they were up by 8. So it was looking pretty good. They brought the lead to 8. Things were looking good. As long as the Clippers kept doing what they were doing, they would win this game. So they were up 61-53 at halftime. It was a well balanced game for the Clippers. Like Kawhi Leonard, he was a leading scorer, but it was a lot of players scoring. It's not just like one or two guys, but it was pretty good. Good team basketball, and for the most part, our defense was good. We don't on a good Warriors team. We allowed 53 points. So now moving on to the second half. We brought the lead to 10 with 10:47 left in the third quarter, and then we did that again with 7:48 left in the quarter. But then they brought the lead to 2 with 5:56 with a Gary Payton layup. But the Clippers, they brought their momentum back again, brought the lead to 8 with 4 minutes left, and then they went in a double-digit lead with a minute 12 left. John Collins, he hit a 3, 89-78. But the Warriors, they ended the scoring 5 straight points at the end of the third quarter with a Guy Santos 3 and layup. So 5 points on its own in the last minute to bring it a 6-point lead, 89-83 at the end of the third quarter. So the Clippers just gotta keep doing what we're doing. But here it goes. So we traded that 5-0 run with our own 5-0 run. So Ben Mathurin, he hit a 3. He hit 5 threes this game. And usually, for the most part, as a Clipper so far, he hasn't been able to hit his threes. But the time that we need it, he's been hitting his threes this game. He made 5 threes. With 9:53 left in the game, the Clippers were up by 13 points. But this is where everything went wrong. Okay, so they brought the lead down to 6 with 8:17 left. They were not going away. Down with 7:21 left, still a 6-point lead. Then Darius Garland hit a 3. That was really huge with 6:37 left. It was a huge shot. I was feeling good. But this man, Al Horford, he, out all games, he was going off at the late in the game. With 5:37 left, he hit a 3 to bring the lead down to 4. And then Ben Mathurin made 2 free throws, 6-point game. Then the next play, he hits another 3. Man, that was really crazy. And matter of fact, he hit 3 threes in a row. In 3 possessions, he made 3 threes. Less than 4 minutes ago, the Clippers were up by 2. And then 2 minutes later, he hits another 3 to take the lead for the first time in a long time with 2 minutes left. Brook Lopez ties the game with a minute 51 left. And then with 50 seconds left, Stephen Curry hits a huge three. And then the next play, Ben Matherin inbounds the ball, just like in the clutch a few times in the past, turns it over on the inbound. Stolen by Draymond Green. Then Brandon Pajemski made a layup. He didn't make it exactly, but it was a goaltend by Ben Matherin. And it was also an and one on the foul. So it was a goaltend and then a foul, so technically it was an and one. Then he made a free throw, 6-point game with 40 seconds left. Then Steph Curry Steph Curry, he made one free throw and missed one free throw. 7-point game, and then the game was over pretty much. The Clippers lost 126 to 121. And the Clippers were eliminated, and that's the end of their season. I was really, really upset at the end of the game. I mean, I didn't really show it, but all of us in the swell were really disappointed. Before we talk about this, let's talk about the final stats of the game. Stephen Curry with a game high 35 points. He made 7 threes. And Al Horford, 14 points. All of those threes, he made 4 threes. All of them were in a short amount of time. 3 threes in a row, and then 2 minutes later, he hits another 3. So those are all his 4 threes. He made 4 threes in a row. Or 3 threes in a row, and then 2 minutes later, he made another 3. And did have the most random time out of all the people. But it was just really, really bad. For the Clippers, Darius Garland and Kawhi Leonard, they led the team with 21 points. Brook Lopez had 17. And actually, Ben Matherin, he was the leading scorer with 23 points. He made 5 threes out of 6. And he was 7 for 11 from the field. This was really bad. The Warriors, they shot 56% from the field. The Clippers, 52. Clippers, they made 14 threes out of 35. That was 40%. And they made 19 threes for our Warriors out of 41 shots, 46%. This was really bad. And the Clippers, they made all 17 free throws. And the Warriors, they made 13 of 21 free throws. So that was 61%. But that is the end of the Clippers season. So I appreciate you guys for listening to my coverage for the Clippers for most of the season here on Fast Break Tundra Baller. I've talked about pretty much everything Clippers, like besides Christmas break on here. And on my TikTok, I have pretty much talked about every game that I've attended. I attended 40 Clipper games this season. The play-in game, that's 1. 38 regular season games. I missed 3 games due to work and 1 preseason game. So I recorded and posted my reactions to every game, and I posted them win or loss. So if you guys have been watching my videos, I really appreciate you guys. Like, I literally started from nothing on my TikTok account, and currently I have 644 followers, and I have about 1 million views across all videos. I'm either close to there or I'm there, about 1 million. So about 1 million views for since the summer. That's just crazy, and like a lot of people has told me, like, hey, I watch your videos. Like even some people at work too, like you popped on my For You page, and like I saw your videos, and like I really appreciate everybody that has like acknowledged my videos, and like even on TikTok too. Like people have been watching, some people since the beginning of the season, or like even if some of them has been watching since the beginning of the season or since All-Star break. But it was just a memorable year. Like we were able to have a meeting with Lawrence Frank when we were struggling. We were 6-19 at the time, and Lawrence Frank, he went out of his way to talk to us, the swell, a private meeting, talk about the struggles and the moves that was made in the past, like waiving Chris Paul, trading Shea, and other stuff. Like it was really, and then we were able to, and they invited 300 swell members to All Star Weekend for free. So I'm just grateful for everything I was able to do on my TikTok and as a swell member, and I was able to shoot on the Clippers court twice. You know, it was just an amazing experience. So thank you guys for watching, and we will be talking about more. We'll start with playoff basketball next week, and possibly talk about the Friday games of the play-in tournament. So it will be the Warriors against the Suns, and the Hornets against the Magic. So we might talk about that, but we'll at least talk about the playoffs and other NBA stuff that is valid to talk about. So I will see you guys next episode. Have a good one.